So now we're ready to start putting our walls together, and I'm going to start with the entrance portion of the house. And I've got here the 4 walls that we previously have prepped. Here are the 2 pieces of pattern paper that go for the side walls. And also I've pulled out the entrance base, and it is 3 by 3, and I have prepped it with some of our cardstock joining strips. All of our cardstock joining strips are cut 3/4 inch wide, scored down the center, and which would be 3/8, and then I'm using 1/4 inch score tape on either side of that fold. So to put these together, I've got them laid out right now with their the outsides facing up, but when we put it together, we want to do that from the inside. So I'm going to take all of these and flip them over so they're still in order. And then I'm going to use just butt the edges together here, and just disregard the tabs here on the front section. They won't be in your way. So we'll just use some of our joining strips to join all 4 pieces in a row, and then also I'm going to join the base onto the front here, and then I'll be back. So I have my 4 walls joined together, and when I join this base on, I'm going to join it so that the bottom is flush with the bottom here. So I'm going to just join it to the front piece to begin with, and what I've done is just lined up the bottom edge here so that basically the base gets inset into the entrance. So we have this going on. So now we can pull off the side strips here from the base, the backing strips on the score tape here, and we're going to keep this inset as we move along the sides. And I'm going to reach in here and burnish that on well. And then when we bring this last side together, the base is inset, but this side corner over here, these edges just kiss. They do not overlap at all on the long vertical here. So I'll do that. So now I'll just reach in and burnish those last 2 joins. And we have our entrance started here. Now I'm going to pull the backing off of these tabs on the front and join them down. Give those a good burnish. And then our backs will go on, and I'll remove this tape backing here and the tape backing from all the sides here. I'll put this side on and this side on. Now the last thing we want to do to this unit is to measure in 1.5 inches from the back edge. Now, and when I say the back edge, that means from the back. Don't just come from the edge of this side wall, there's an extra 1/16 of an inch that needs to be accounted for from that back. So when you put your ruler up here, make sure you've got it over this side edge by a 1/16 of an inch. It should be flush with the back of your unit. And then we'll just draw that 1.5 inch line. And then we'll repeat that on the other side edge, again measuring from the back. So there is our entrance unit complete. So for our tower, we again have our 4 walls that we previously prepped with paper. And I also have the tower base, which is another 3-inch square that has been prepped with some of our joining strips. Now this will go together just the same way that our entrance did. We're only joining the vertical pieces, the straight edges here, not up here at the shoulders. So that's as far as we'll go here. And again, ignore the tabs that are already on the paper, and we'll just do our butt joints and get all 4 together, and then inset the base just like we did before. So I'll be back when I have it to that point. So I have the tower 4 walls joined and the base inset here. So now it's time to adhere our paper. And the first thing we'll do is to adhere the tabs from the front side. So I've secured the tabs from the front to the 2 sides. And so now we can join the paper on the sides. We'll remove the score tape from the center of each side and also on the pattern paper up here at the shoulders. Make sure you get that off, and sometimes it's on if it's on the chipboard, get it off there too, so you're basically joining this paper, and then secure the tab on the bottom. Now if you forgot to ink your along edges here, you'll want to do that before you join this. And now that we have all of our pattern paper attached, we'll again want to mark a 1/2 inch in on the side walls, just like we did with the entrance wall. Again, making sure to account for the width of the back panel. And we only have to come up about 6 inches or so. Make sure that you're always measuring in from the back and not the front. So now we have our tower started. We're going to, obviously we need some more pieces up here. We'll get to them in a few minutes. To put the main house units together, we're going to assemble them in this order. We have the end wall here in the center, and then 2 of our side walls. Now notice that where I have the flaps for these side walls, they're pointed outwards. And so this is the order we're going to put them in. Now you may remember that this was a little bit tight. We've left this loose underneath these edges here, but there may not be enough room for these tabs. So what you first want to do is just see if those tabs are going to fit, and just slide them underneath there. Now I can see that this one is about a 1/16 of an inch too long, and then if I try it over here on this side, this this side is pretty close, but just to be on the safe side, I'm going to trim a 1/16 of an inch off of that as well. So what I'm going to just do is come in here with my ruler and my craft knife and just trim a generous 1/16 of an inch off of these two sides. And then we'll go ahead and just test that again. And now this side fits up nice and tightly, and this side fits well as well. So now we can just go ahead and make these two butt joints, and then I'll be back. Now to finish getting our pattern paper on, we'll first put the two tabs on from the front. Just remove the score tape and hold this sidewall back. Now when you do this, make sure you're keeping this unit square. So use your cutting mat as a guide and to make sure your walls are square to each other. And attach the two side fins, and then go ahead and finish attaching the pattern paper on the two side walls. Now if you find it tricky to get these side tabs in, just fold the side walls back. You can see I've got it folded completely flat here, and then you only have to pick it up a little bit to sneak that edge in, and then you can bring it back to 90 degrees and fasten it down. So you'll repeat for the other assembly, and you'll end up with two pieces like this. Our next step is to inset the house base into these two end wall, side wall assemblies. And so what I like to do is turn back these bottom edges, but go ahead and pull off the tape backing so that they're prepped and ready to go. And you might want to do a dry fit first and make sure everything is fitting together. If you've measured correctly, you shouldn't have any issues. So I'm just going to run, I've got a fine line gluer here. I'm going to run a bead of glue along my ledger strips, kind of bright. Hopefully you can see that. And then we can just fit. Remember, it gets inset so that the base should be flush with the bottom edges of the side walls. And then you can, now that since you already prepped for this to remove the score tape backing, you can just go ahead and put those on. Now that you've got them on, you can go ahead and give them a burnish. And then we'll repeat that procedure for the other side. And then once I have both sides attached, I'm just going to leave that for a few minutes until the glue has set up. Now that our house is dry, attached to the base and dry, we're going to add our two house supports. Now these pieces have been sized to be the same width as the end walls, And I'll just dry fit this in here. You can see I've prepped with 2 pieces of score tape on the edges. And these are going to fit in right behind these tabs that we've made on the side walls here. And these will help keep the house, the building square, and give us an extra way to support the tower and the entrance wall. So I'll just remove my score tape backing. And put this in, make sure it's all the way to the bottom and flush with the edges of the side walls, and then we can secure it to the, I've just secured it to the tabs here. And make sure if you pick this up that you kind of support it, because until the other 2 pieces get in, it's a little wibbly wobbly. So then I'll go ahead and put this piece in the exact same way, and then I'll be back. So now we're ready to put our entrance and our tower into the construction. And let's just do a little dry fit. You can see I've got the entrance sitting in here right now. Now it will slide in here, and remember there's a ledger strip. I think you can just maybe can see it. Right here there's a ledger strip, so that will go on top of our little cutout in there. And then when we look at the sides here, remember our pencil line that we drew? That pencil line will line up with the inside edge of this side wall. Now I can see that I don't need this much of a pencil line. I'm going to erase it before I put in there, just so I see just a little bit above there. So I'll do that on both sides, and then I'll do the same thing on the tower side. And remember, we again have a ledger strip here for the tower side, and we can put that in here. And again, that pencil line that we drew lines up with the inside of that side wall. So the pencil line is there, and it will line up with the inside of that side wall. And so the way I'm going to put this together, I think, is to attach both sides here to the tower and the entrance, and then take advantage of the fact that until both sides are attached, I have the ability to tilt this a little bit. Then I can remove this score tape over here and put both sides on. And I'll also put a little bead of glue right along the edge here on both sides. And yeah, I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. So I've removed the score tape backing from this side for both the tower and the entrance roof, and I'm going to put a bead of glue right along this edge here to begin with. I think I'll start with my entrance, and I'm just tilting it so that I can get it in here. I'm going to check on the bottom and make sure that I have it aligned where I want it to be. And now I'm just checking my pencil line, and I've just got the top of it kind of lightly attached here to begin with. And now I'm going to come and put a bead of glue for the tower. You have to pardon my head if it comes in here. Alright, I've got that in there. And then turn this around and align the inside. Just kind of tack the top of that tape in. And then I should be able to reach over here and get a hold of the tape backing on both sides. Then again, line up the inside of our wall. And just kind of check and see if everything is looking square. I'm just using my mat to look around, make sure everything looks square. And then we can go ahead and burnish down our strips of score tape that are holding the tower and the entrance roof in. To finish up the upper walls of the tower, we need the 4 pieces that are listed as the tower upper walls on the cutting guide. And these pieces are 1.25 inches by 4. And what we want to do is at the 2.5 inch mark, we want to score through this chipboard about halfway. Just so there's still some connection on the back here, but it will flex a little bit. And then this is 1.25 inches, so we want to mark a point that is in the center up here at the top, and that would be 5/8. And then we're going to cut a triangle from this score mark that we made up to that point. Looks like I need a new craft knife blade. That one took a lot to cut. Okay, so we'll end up with a piece that looks like this, and we'll do that for all 4 of our pieces. And then before we attach them, let's just draw a template of that piece so that we can use that as a starting point for adding patterned paper. So I'll just draw that and then I can cut that out in a minute. So I have my 4 pieces cut out here, and I want to show you where they're going to go in. Now they go in between. You can see the shape here that they're going to fill in, and when we put them in, they're going to go in this orientation so that they can fill in, and I've kind of pulled the tabs back here a little bit, so hopefully you can see how they're going to fit in here between these pieces. And you may recall that we put score tape on these tabs here, so they're ready to go. Now you can see we've got some overlap down here on the bottom on some of these, so I'm just going to trim off so that we won't have that, and then we'll go ahead and put a piece in. So when I put this piece in, I'm going to make sure that the tops are lined up here and that the point comes down into the point area here. Now I don't know if I'll be able to hold on to this and do all of these things at once. We'll see here. So there I've got the top aligned, and now I'm just going to reach in from the inside and kind of push that point there. And I need to trim this off just a little bit more. So now I can support this from the inside and give this piece a burnish. Try to bring this point together down here a little bit closer. So I'm going to repeat that for the other 3 sides, and then I'll be back. So as you can see, I have all 4 of those upper tower walls installed, and now we just need to cover them with pattern paper. So here's my template that I'm trying out, and it looks to me, I want to make sure that I bring it down far enough to cover any kind of little holes or anything there might be at this point right here. So I'm going to make my sides I think about 1/8 of an inch longer. I may need to just bring up these points here, but I can always trim it off if it's too long. So I'm going to make it 1/8 of an inch longer, and I'm just going to try that on each side and see how that goes. Yeah, that should be the same for there. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I have some of my scraps reserved here, and I'm going to pay attention. I have directional paper, of course, so I'm going to cut out 4 of these, and for me I'm just going to make them 1/8 of an inch longer here, and I'll put score tape around and ink the edges and then get them installed, and then I'll be back. So I have all of my pattern paper attached to the upper walls of the tower, and now the next step is to put a little platform in here at the top. That'll just give us a base for attaching the light part of the lighthouse up here at the top. So I've cut some of my little ledger strips, the 1/4 inch ledger strips, and I've cut them about 1 inch and 1/8 long, and I'm just going to attach them to all 8 sides here, coming in down about 1/16 of an inch. I'll do one here and then show it to you. So I'll just go around the whole top, leaving 1/16 of an inch, which is the width of my chipboard, between the top of the ledger strip and the top of the tower. So I'll do that and then I'll be back. This is my tower top support. It starts out as a 3-inch square, and then on each side in the center we want to mark 1 1/4 inches. So from the center 0 point I'm measuring 5/8 inch out on either side, and that will give me 1 1/4 inches centered in on each side. And then once I do that on all 4 sides, I can connect these diagonals, and those diagonals should also end up being 1 1/4 inches. And I'll cut those corners off, and we should have something that should fit inside of our tower top. So I will do that and then I'll be back. So I have my octagon cut here, And I'm just going to dry fit it to begin with. To kind of chase it around here a little bit. But yeah, that's going to fit in here fine. So I'll take this out and run a bead of glue around the top inside here. I'll put the tower top support in and let that sit up and dry.